要是觉不起来，可热现在确实是一个错。
I used to Boy Scout when I was a kid, and we go past your house. When we packed up to leave, a Scoutmaster would always remind us to get cleaned and grounded. We'd pass the ball cap, full caps, and flags, especially how you picked them. But we were always going to find them all over the way, so we would leave it cleaner than we found it. This is Bleed Us Smith from Service Company, Cleaning LLC, and that philosophy has stuck with me. When you come to your home for a cleanup or return, I promise that we'll leave your home cleaner than we found it. We always safeguard your floors, and we have protective feedings on our feet, and we protect the wood for the Call Service Champions for precision cleanup and professional cleaning for just $88. Our number is 833-777-7777 or at servicechampions.com. These four have worked for city government for years. Nothing is worked. They're failures.
Why are you making fun of us? Why do you keep saying that we're devoted to public service?
Because homelessness doubled, garbage is piled everywhere, crime is brutal, and it's while this crowd has been running things. Right. All right, who's responsible here?
John and Ken, weekdays at 2.
They're a bunch of losers. You ruined the city.
On KFI.
KFI AM 640 Handle here. It's going to be windy today, which is not good news for the fire in Laguna Niguel. We'll talk to Corbin Carson later on at 7 o'clock. In the meantime, let's return to Handle on the news. Jennifer, Wayne, and me.
All right, North Korea has confirmed its first COVID outbreak, and Kim Jong-un said, you know what, everybody lock it down. So the outbreak even forced Kim Jong-un to wear a mask in public for the first time since the start of the pandemic. And I started thinking, oh, that's right. I don't think I've ever have seen Kim Jong-un in a mask.
And you know why? Because COVID didn't exist in North Korea.
Oh,
that was the one country in the world that was completely exempt from COVID. And now, not so much.
And he being Kim Jong-un, says that, yes, he's trying to lock everything down so that he can eliminate the infection source and stop this as soon as possible. But he also adds that the country will overcome the outbreak because its government and people are united as one.
That's true. The government and the people are united as one. Otherwise, you get shot by a machine gun.
You have to be.
Yes, you have no choice. And when he says he's going to shut down the country, he can do it. That's just one let's shut down the country statement, and it's done.
Should there be a mask mandate, there will be no protesters about it.
There will not be, and there will be masks over, not only over their faces, but everybody will look like Zorro. There are going to be masks when he says there are masks.
Okay, in Ukraine, Russia is continuing airstrikes against that steel mill in Mariupol. And the Ukrainians say that Russia has blocked every possible exit route out of there. So now they're negotiating with Russia to exchange some Russian prisoners that Ukraine has in exchange for letting the soldiers at that steel plant get out of it. I don't know if Russia will go for a deal or if they want to really send a strong message, which would mean killing everybody or taking them all prisoner themselves. Or maybe they take them prisoner first, then they negotiate some kind of exchange.
And that could be the case. And certainly the fighters that will fight to the death, the Ukrainian defenders, that's not an issue. And Russia can get involved in that fight with somewhat of impunity. Civilians, Putin's going to have a very different story if civilians die. And they couldn't get out because Russia blocked those corridors, the humanitarian corridors. I got to tell you, Russia is, a lot of you just don't understand what's going on. Finland is about to join NATO. Sweden is about to join NATO, and I'm going to do a story on that, why they never have, and NATO's wanted them for a long time. And Putin has already said, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible. I got to tell you, he's got nowhere to go on this. All he has is Ukraine. And he's not winning in Ukraine. But he'll take eastern Ukraine. He's already got Donetsk and Luhansk, but that's basically it. So he's going to destroy the eastern part of the country and a good part of other cities, and that's what he's going to have. A destroyed Ukraine, and it'll be an occupation army. It'll be Afghanistan. It'll be Iraq.
There's a lot of analysts now that are saying what is possible, like a good possibility, is that this ends with Russia pushed back to where they were after 2014. And that they end up actually not gaining any ground by the time
Well,
this whole thing plays out.
They're not going to give up Crimea. That's not going to happen. No one's going to go to war over Crimea. And that, in 2014, happened, the annexation of Crimea.
That's what I mean. They'll be pushed back to
where it was.
What they took in 2014.
And and it's not, it'll be a limited area of eastern Ukraine because there are Russians speaking there, and there are separatists there, and there are pro-Russian citizens of Ukraine there who believe that the Russians are right. Let's move on.
I have one quick question, you guys. Why would they keep bombing this area when the people who are in there, say soldiers and civilians possibly, they have no food, they have no water, they've got to be running out. I mean, I know it sounds awful, but they're wasting their resources on an area where people may die sooner than later.
Well, people
just because
die. Two reasons.
They have no way to exist.
Two reasons. Number one, it's a port city, Mariupol, and it is it's the second most important port in Ukraine. Also, in order to get to Odessa, they need that corridor. And Mariupol is what's between Odessa and where the Russians are. They could go north of that and swing around, but they can stop cold. And so there are a couple of reasons. And I think then it's just a show of force. Here's Putin, I've got balls. And I'm certainly not going to go back. He has to double down. Mariupol is gone as a city. It's wiped out. It doesn't exist anymore. And that's a big city, too. It's not particularly a small city relative to Ukraine.
All right, you mentioned this a second ago, and I know you'll talk more about it, so I won't give too much, but leaders in Finland are calling for NATO membership without delay, and of course there's a process that has to be done, and I think the worry is from Finland that over the next couple of months, you've already had President Putin saying that, hey, if you join NATO, there are going to be consequences, but this might be the perfect time for Finland and Sweden to join, because he's got bigger fish to fry than Finland and Sweden right now. I mean, of course, he could pull off a cyber attack of some sort, I guess. But when it comes to military warfare or whatever, what could he really do right now when all of his forces and resources are focused on Ukraine?
I mean, he could do plenty, but as our Secretary of Defense said, he does not want to get involved.
No.
He does not want to go beyond where he's going. And I'm going to talk about this at 8 o'clock, Finland and Sweden. And Finland is just a fascinating country. Will be a member of NATO, fought with the Nazis during World War II. And it's just an interesting history, and I'll do that coming up at 8 o'clock.
As you mentioned at the top of the show, Bill, a split panel from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that California's ban on sales of semi-automatic weapons to adults under 21, so the 18 to 21 age range, that ban is unconstitutional. And you're going to get into, you're doing a segment on this, right? Because it's not just what the decision was. It's how they got there and what was said about it.
Precisely, the rationale. That's at 7:50 this morning, so obviously a lot going on.
All right, now you have a fourth high-ranking official who has filed a lawsuit, or plans to, in L.A. County against Sheriff Villanueva, accusing him of a cover-up in connection with that jail video that we've all seen now with the deputy kneeling on a handcuffed inmate's head. So it kind of looks like a George Floyd situation. And this new person coming forward is Captain Angela Walton, who says allegedly Villanueva tried to enlist her to write a fake memo and commit fraud in connection with this cover-up. And Walton said she refused.
Steve Gregory yesterday did a report saying documents were received that he got, and he broke this story, that back up Villanueva. All of the hard evidence backs up his position. And on the other side, it's simply anecdotal, or this is what happened to me, statements made by people with no proof that it happened. And here's the other one. He told me, I said this. This is when he said it. In the meantime, he's got the documents that go the other way, at least back up his position. But then again, this is number 4. What do you do with number 5 and number 6?
We're getting to the point where somebody who is suing him is going to have to come right out and say he forged those documents. Which, so far, I don't think anybody's accusing anybody of presenting forged documents, but the way it's looking, it's sort of the only avenue to reconcile it with their arguments is that, those documents are bogus. And yet they're not saying that.
Yeah, interesting story, to say the least. All right, Wayne, let's do one more at least.
Well, the mother accused of killing her 3 children inside their home in West Hills, apparently believed they were possessed by demons.
Yeah, and what did we talk about yesterday? This is so crazy. You can't wrap your head around this. How does a mother do that unless she's so squirrely and so mentally ill? And this is the classic possessed by demon story. And I'm not being pejorative or ridiculous here. This is legitimate mental illness, and possessed by demons seems to be an underlying theme. And it's a common situation that somebody decides a loved one is possessed by demons and kills them. To protect them. And the motivation is not malicious, horrible. It's I wanted to save my children. It's horrible. If the psychiatrist can convince, or her psychiatrist can convince that she truly believed that, that's an insanity plea. And will be seriously considered by a jury. Let's take a break. We'll come back and do yet more handle on the news. Jennifer, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
A 200-acre wind-driven fire in Laguna Niguel is estimated to have burned about 24 homes.
The fuel moisture is so low that the fires are taking off and running on. OC Fire Authority Chief Brian Finney says the high winds and steep terrain are challenging but typical. The big difference is dry brush is everywhere. Unfortunately, I believe this is what we're going to be experiencing over the next several months or the next several years. This woman says the fire came so close to her home.
We saw the house burning down. It's very terrible. It's sad. Happened suddenly, and nobody expected that fast.
Ground and air crews pounded the fire that started yesterday afternoon, trying to save the community. In Laguna Niguel, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
News is brought to you by attorneys Sweet James Accident Attorneys. A woman police say admitted to killing 3 of her kids, as we were just talking about, at their home in West Hills, has appeared in court, but she did not enter a plea. That's been put off now until August. Angela Flores is being held on $6 million bail. ABC7 reports Flores believes her kids were possessed by demons. A 16-year-old also charged in the killing denied a juvenile court petition yesterday, charging it with 1 count of murder. A Florida judge has struck down Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' newly drawn congressional map because it would reduce the number of black voters in 2 of Florida's biggest counties. Judge Lane Smith says the redrawn map is unconstitutional.
Because it diminishes African Americans' ability to elect the representative of their choice.
The governor's office plans to appeal. Money issues around the country are not stopping casinos from breaking the bank.
Commercial casinos in the U.S. have had their biggest month ever. The American Gaming Association says casinos won more than $5.3 billion from gamblers in March. The previous record last July was almost $500 million fewer dollars. The AGA also says casinos had their best quarters ever to start the year and to end last year, with last year breaking the annual record as well. Vegas was the biggest gambling market last year, as always, taking in more than $7 billion, followed by Atlantic City and Chicago. The numbers do not include tribal casinos. Many states have fewer people gambling, but they were spending a lot more. Michael Crozier, KFI News.
Is this instant karma in this next story? A suspected strangler has died in South Carolina while he was trying to hide a body. Neighbors called police Saturday and said a man was unconscious in his backyard. Deputies go and they find the man. They also find a body wrapped in trash bags in a freshly dug hole. Investigators say that was the man's girlfriend. They say it looks like the guy was nearly done filling the grave when he set the shovel down, walked away, and died of a heart attack. He's got your drive on the 405 after Sports with Wayne.
The Dodgers failed the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-0 yesterday when Edwin Rios steps to the plate.
Well hit. Pinner scores. Dodgers scores right on the heels of Taylor. There's a tie ball game. Pinner toe. Edwin Rios.
That 2-3 tie didn't hold though. The Pirates put up 2 more wins, 5-3. The Braves drew at home to host the Phillies at 7:10. That's live on AM 570 LA Sports. Tyler Anderson is set to start. The Angels got their series closer against the Tampa Bay Rays 4-2. They'll go on the road to face the A's tomorrow. And the LA Kings have a chance to win their NHL playoff series against the Orioles tonight at home. That match starts at 7 live in HD on the iHeart app. I'm Wayne Nesbitt, KFI Sports.
What's wrong?
If your business has 5 or more employees and you manage to get through COVID and still keep employees, you're eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of $26,000 per employee. This is not a loan either. It's a refund of your taxes. The trick is getting your hands on the money. This is complicated stuff. A lot of red tape. So let me suggest GetRefunds.com. They'll do it. They're specialists in this little known payroll tax refund program. They do all of the work. No charge up front. Matter of fact, their charge is simply a percentage of the money they get back. And businesses of all types of qualify, including those that took PPP money and nonprofits, even if you have increases in sales. And in another program, they got My Business a 6-figure refund. The average client in this one gets $250,000 back. Visit GetRefunds.com. Click on the Qualify Me button, answer a few questions, they do the rest. GetRefunds.com.
SoCal weather from KFI. We've got another sunny day ahead now. Warming trend starts. So highs at the beaches are going to be in the upper 60s to lower 70s. Looks like we'll be in the mid 70s for Metro LA and OC, and then the upper 70s, low 80s for the valleys in the IE. We'll hit the low 90s for the inland areas tomorrow, and it looks like we can hit the low to mid 90s by Saturday. Let's take a look at your job. Jeff, good morning, and starting with the